Hello guys, I'm Savvy and welcome back to another Conan Exiles build video. In the last one, we built a castle in the desert, which turned out pretty nicely. I'll be linking that at the end of the video. But today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit more simpler, I'd say. And we're going to be building a gazebo. I know it's been a little bit since I've last done a build. I mean, it was within the same month, but I feel like it's been a little too long. But I haven't really thought of any ideas lately. And if you guys have any ideas or suggestions of other things I could build that you guys want to see, you can leave a comment down below. And I'd also like to preface that you guys can also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because it lets me know you guys enjoy the content on the channel and would like to see more. And hitting that like button also helps out the algorithm, so I'd really appreciate that as well. But yeah, we're going to be building a gazebo, and you guys are going to be seeing exactly what a gazebo looks like. A way to describe it would probably be something that's open-faced, where it's like a platform that you can walk up to, made out of. It could be made out of wood, maybe even metal or something, and you could look out from all directions, and it has a roof over it to protect you from the rain or even shade you from the sun. And where I am right now, it's at E7 and 8, which this is an oasis area that is where you find the Mitra religion. So we're going to be building out of Argosian and Aquilonian because I think that's the best kind of building kits or building materials to use to build a gazebo. And what I had in mind is building a walkway that goes up to the gazebo, and I want to build that out of Aquilonian. So that's what we're going to be doing to start off. So I'm going to take these Aquilonian foundations, and I want to make it maybe 2 blocks wide, like this. And then I'm just going to send this out a little bit until it goes in the middle of the water somewhat. Just like so. We'll have it like that for now. And I'm going to replace this with ceilings, and some of these foundations will act as support. And I want to make sure that this might have, at least the way that I want to design this, is going to have pillars to support it underneath, obviously. And we're going to just break these other foundations here to extend our ceilings, just like so. And while I'm doing this as well, I'm going to be using the left sloping inverted wall and the right sloping inverted wall because I kind of want to hide the pillars a little bit, and I kind of make it more like a bridge. And I think that would be I think it looked more aesthetically pleasing that way. And I think every 2, I'm going to put a pillar there. Just like that. So you have pillars here, then you skip 2, then you put a pillar here, skip 2, put a pillar there, skip 2, put a pillar. Until eventually we reach a point where I think it'll be comfortable enough for us to just move on to the next step. And you could technically stop right here if you want it closer to the I was going to say shoreline. It's not really an ocean or like a lake, but I guess we could consider it a shoreline, I guess. But that's little lake here, little pond. But I do want this to be... That rhino is angry. Yeah, this is also where a world boss is, that black rhino that's there. I'm just going to ignore him. He's not going to bother us because I'm in creative mode. So I'll just let him do his thing. Anyway, so I'm just going to go back and forth with this right until I meet up with the end of this bridge here. And the last one is right there. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do it on the other side, pretty much. Just using the opposite one since it is facing the other direction. Just inverted left and inverted right. And don't worry, where you see the floating parts here, I'm going to be putting some walls down in between in between these triangles that have formed. Just that way it doesn't look that awkward and there's something at least attached to them. And we're going to be using this Aquilonian wall, like so. And it's going to go into the ground. If it will... I don't think it would let me, actually. You know what we could use instead? Instead of the walls, I think fence foundations would work a lot better instead. Or what could probably be a combination is walls and then fence foundations underneath. Yeah, that works a lot better. And I'm not really going to bother with where these walls are facing, just as long as we fill in the spaces here. And just to be consistent, we're going to do it for all of them. And it might be a little tricky, so you might have to go from side to side. As you see, I'm struggling a little bit here, trying to put these walls in. So going from side to side is the best option for that. Until we cover each and every piece there, and then we also want to do the same thing here, except I'm going to have these outside facing outside, and then finish it off with that. There we go. So that way it looks like that there's a little bit more support underneath, and we got this cool pattern here, which I think looks pretty good. Another cool way to do this would be using build kits such as Argosian that uses the vaulted ceilings, which have more of a curved underside rather than these sloped bits. But I think what we have right now is fine. So I'm going to put fence foundations there as well, and then put the stairs in. And then to close up these gaps here, I'm going to use a right sloping wall and a left sloping wall, covering up like that. Beautiful. And then the next thing we can do is go back through with some Aquilonian fences. Just like so. And for Argosian, I mean, you could technically use Argosian fencing instead, if that's what you want to use. There's different types here. There's actually the observatory fences, but the thing is, I don't really think... It may actually match quite well, and I think it'd be fancier if we use these instead. But it's totally up to you, so you guys get to see what it looks like with the observatory fences, and you guys get to see what it looks like with the Aquilonian fences. And maybe the regular Argosian fence too. It has like this red wooden barrier here, or fencing, which doesn't really match with the Aquilonian, so I'm not going to use that. I mean, if I were using Argosian all the way through, then I would use that more. But I think we're going to stick with the observatory fence, just because I think it matches the tone better for it. And then we have something like this, which looks pretty darn good. So the next part that we're going to go through is we need to make the shape of this gazebo. So the shape is going to be sort of rounded, but not really, and it's going to have some jutting out points as well. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to take more of my foundations here. This is going to be the basis for our shape. And I'm just going to bring this out here while also using wedge foundations. Now, I think the way I want to do this is have 2 there, bring this up by 1, and then keep 1 triangle in between. And then have the triangle stick out like this. And then we're going to do this all the way through, just like so, until we meet again on the other side. So just like so. And it looks like this. Yep, looks like this. Kind of like a star, or like some form of a star, I guess. Yep, and it looks just like this. And the reason why the pathway was too wide is because of that reason. I did not want this to be very big. Another idea that could be used as well, if I didn't want it to be that big, is use wedge foundations instead, because that could probably make a smaller shape than this, although probably not, because it would ultimately be the same, probably relatively the same size, because it has to cover the same width or distance, if you will. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I don't want to see the sides of these Aquilonian foundations, so I'm going to go in with the Argosian fence foundations, but instead I'm going to use the back as the front. So I'm going to have the outside facing inside and the inside facing outside, or the inside facing towards me. And just like with many of my other builds, I typically do this where I put the foundations first to give me an outline, and then I go back over them with the fence foundations, because the foundations can use up a lot of rendering power, especially if you have like a low-end PC, or if you have probably like you have an old console, or if, I mean, console in general has a hard time handling a lot of stuff, and these foundations take a lot of load time instead. So it's best just to build things smaller, but also not use a ton of foundations for that reason. Plus, I also think it looks good anyway, overall. And I'm going to do something a little bit different here too, because we need more support for this gazebo, because there's not going to be much going on in terms of ceilings or anything like that. It's going to be very open face. It's going to pretty much be pillars, roof, and probably different layers of the roof. So I'm going to take more of my fence foundations. I'm going to use the inside. I'm going to outline I'm going to line the inside with these fence foundations as well. Same thing with it doesn't matter which way you have them face, but since I want to keep consistency, I'm just going to have the inside face towards me, or inside face outside. Just like so. And sometimes you might want to double check your fence foundations, because sometimes they want to attach lower than normal. Alright, so once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and hollow out these foundations here. And we're going to go back in with ceilings. And just to make sure that oops. So if I do that, it's fine. They'll be able to attach to each other again as long as they have two connecting sides. That's fine. Which it does end up happening when you're in creative mode, because one click can mess it up. And we have something that looks like this, which I think looks pretty cool. I like it. So we're going to go back in through with the ceilings, but I am also going to be using pillars in between here too, because these gazebos are going to need a lot of support. I built gazebos in the past, and I've had the struggle of not having enough structural, well, not structural integrity, but enough support underneath them for me to continue to build higher. So I'm gonna double check, triple check, maybe quadruple check that I have that support there. So using the fence foundations, but not only that, using a bunch of pillars as well. And we might need to use some pillars on the inside as well. But I want to refrain from using a bunch of them, so I'm going to try to use the minimal amount as possible. But it's not a guarantee that it's going to be like that. But we won't find out until we actually start building up. Because the higher you build, the more support you need. That's pretty much the way it goes. That's with like skyscrapers and other modern buildings. And even old structures too that were really tall needed a lot of support underneath in order for it to be held up. Alright, put that there. Then we have these here. It just takes some extra time though, but it'll be well worth it. Plus it looks kind of cool on the inside, not gonna lie. Looks pretty cool. There's no need for me to put lights in here at all, since there's no reason to be in there. It's just for support, no accessible areas. Alright, so, oops. There we go. Alright, since that's in, now we can focus on the inside, which all the rest of this is just going to be using wedges. So we're just going to go around like so. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. That's really cool. I like that. We can make it into a triangle if we want to. Or the that's not the Triforce, but that's pretty cool too. We're going to cover this whole thing up. But before I do that completely, I'm going to go back in again with the pillars, but this time I'm just going to do pillars on the inner parts. So all the way around here on these 6 triangles that will exist. There we go. We got this shape going on here. Pretty cool. All right, so now when all that's finished, the next part that we can move on to is actually building up the gazebo. But I want to put some fences around this as well. So we're going to continue the pattern of the observatory fences, and we're going to put these all the way around, just like so. And I like large gazebos. I don't like really tiny ones. I like really large ones, you know. Honestly, now that I think about it, I think this outside rim here could be good for a walkway when this inside could be the gazebo. Yeah, you know what? We'll do that. We'll do that, and we'll see how it looks. Yeah. So I'm going to use these large Argosian pillars, and the way I'm going to build this, there's a couple ways I'm thinking about. So if I just placed them in between each triangle like so, we have a shape like this. Pretty simple. But then if I decided to go more like this, I think this looks better. Yeah, I mean, you won't, it has less, well, not really less visual, because you could just come out here and see. And I think this has more of a, I guess, oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? More like grandeur, has a better grandeur, in my opinion. So we're going to use the regular pillar. So we have the base pillar, we have the middle pillar, and then we have the cap. So I'm going to build this up to use all 3 of these. So the bottom part is going to be really tall, while the top part is going to be short. Probably too high. So we have something like this for now. Now the next thing is going back through with wedges. And I want to make sure that these are facing the same direction as the ones underneath or on the base. So we have something like this. Now, I'm not going to cover this up in the middle. This part here, I'm actually going to build up with some walls. And I'm going to be using the Argosian walls. And I'm going to have the outside facing away from me, so that way you could see it from this inside, just like so. And the next thing we're going to use is, now if you do not have the observatory build kit, that is totally fine. What you can use instead, and I'll show both of these. So we can use the wedged roof pieces, which gives it more of a slope. And these are more triangles, where you use both the wedge roof pieces, but then also the inverted wedge pieces to fill in the gaps in between. Just like so. Now, what I realized is that even having these on the inside, unfortunately, we have to turn these the other way around. So it might be best to flip these backwards. Otherwise, you're going to have two sets of walls facing opposite directions. And we probably don't want that. So we're going to remain consistent and just build this up like so. Just like that. Oh, I did it the wrong way. Just like this. And then we have this sort of shape going on here. Which, that's fine and all, but let me show you what it looks like with the rounded pieces or the observatory roof pieces, which I've grown to love so much. It's a very good build kit, and it's a shame that that Funcom doesn't have the pieces or the build kits available in like a store. Like there's the bazaar, but you have to wait until it's back in rotation, which is very frustrating. Instead of having a whole store that shows everything. So we're going to use the Argosian Observatory wedge sloped roofs. And then we're going to use the inverted version of it. But this actually is rounded, and it fits on, just like with the other sloped wedge pieces that we used. It covers those corners there, and then we have to go back in with this roof piece. Now, I will say that the rounded roof doesn't look good with everything, but it can look good in most cases. So we have something like this. Now, I'm going to stick with the rounded style. I think the rounded style is good. But then I think what I'm going to do instead, or what I'm going to do next, not instead, but next, is put some ceilings above here. So I'm going to take these wedge pieces and close this up like so. But I'm not going to put a roof here. Instead, I'm actually going to put... Now, I don't think that this would be great if I decide to put it right on top like so, like this. Because if I did that, I think that would be too tall. But I'm going to do it anyway, just to see what it looks like. Because always do a trial and error. That's like when playing Kerbal Space Program, or even playing this game when building stuff, or even in Minecraft too. Minecraft's another example of that too. And we're going to go back in with these rounded pieces. Just like so. That way it has the cap up there, and then I'll put fences around too. Now, I think that looks a little weird to me. Even without the fences, like picturing the fences there, I still think it looks weird. So I'm going to bring this down by 1. But if you want to keep it that way, that is totally up to you. But for me, I'm going to keep it down here, like so. And then I'm going to put the pillars here. Now this will still have the observatory fences, just like this. And then we're going to build up with the 2 pillars again. So these 2. And then we're going to go back through with these rounded pieces, but we just have to put the roof piece back, or the ceilings back on. Back on here. Make sure that they're facing the right direction. Otherwise, it'll be just a weird shape overall. Then we have something like this, which I think looks pretty good. That looks really good. I really do think so. Now, this isn't directly centered, but it is in the water all the way, which I do like. And it kind of gives you that same sort of vibe as well. You know, you even walking out all the way through here, you know, you can still see throughout all the sides and everything. It's really cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to put some lights in here, and there's actually one cool thing that I want to do. Now, there's these observatory quarter pillars, and I've grown fond of these because the way that they work is, look at this. On these wedge pieces, it could fit like that in the corner, and I could put 4 of them in the center like this. Now, what I love to do is I turn that into sort of a pedestal for a light source that could be placed on top. And one of those light sources that looks pretty good is a set brazier. And it's fine if you don't get it 100% centered. This way I would prefer snapping, but I put a brazier just like that in the middle. And that looks so good. It looks really good. Now to add a little bit more to it, there's a couple things that we could add actually. Now I do think with Argosian, we do have... we do have the vaulted ceilings. And I do think that using... Let's see if I can find it. I don't think it's this one. I don't think any of these will work, but I want to give it a try. The inverted corners. Because there isn't really a wedge. No, it doesn't work. Because there's not a wedge type of vaulted ceiling that works, and I really wish there was, because I think that would be really cool to have. But unfortunately, it does not exist. Same with this one too, because that would be really cool as well. But that's fine. So other lights around here, which we don't really need that many, since that brazier can light up the place pretty well. There is the Zamorian ground lanterns. Now these you could actually stick on top of the fences, and I'm going to put one in between each and every section where these fences meet up with each other. So this part I'm just going to cut out because it'll take a little bit for me to do this. So once I place these all, I'll be right back. So see you guys in a second. All right, here we go. So I've placed all of those lanterns down, and this looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. Now, some other things I do want to add are some statues, which I think would look very, very pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down in our decorations and get statues. Now, my favorite kind of statues that would fit in this would be the Argosian statues. I'm going to try to do this as best I can by centering it like so, and each of these are going to be turned in a way where they're facing different sides of the water, like so. Just like that. Beautiful. And I do think that with something like this, I think a good idea would be to add maybe some seating as well. So maybe like a nice bench or something can be placed on either side. Like we have this Stygian bench, which I think looks pretty cool. And I'm going to place this in the center of each side that has these square foundations. And again, it's a little bit hard to get this right because there's no snapping, so it's just try to do the best you can by placing these. Because some of them might be slightly crooked, but it's okay. As long as you get the... As long as you put them down and they're... I also want to make sure that they're well against the walls there, or the fences. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, that's all of them there. And I'm having them face towards the gazebo, only because I don't want to block any of the pathways there. Now, the other thing I'd like to do would probably be put plants down, but my problem with it is that with how large these are, it does leave some walking space, but not the hops, because that's too big. So we might have to go with something a little bit more subtle, if possible. Same with the mandrakes. Mandrakes are a little bit too big and they might get in the way when you're walking. We don't want it to do that. There is aloe, which probably would... I mean, it fits with the desert theme, so put them on either side here, like so. There we go. We got some just like that. Oh, that looks so pretty. Looks beautiful. For lights, there is another light that I want to put in, which is this hanging lamp. It is Aquilonian hanging lamp. It is beautiful. I use these with a lot of builds when I have the opportunity to do it. It's really good. And it adds some extra lighting there, and I think putting one... I don't know if that would be wise to put one there, but what would be wise is probably adding either an Argosian brazier to hang from the ceiling, or I put another Stygian brazier. However, I'm going to add another podium or pedestal here, so I can put it on top, which I think would be a better idea. Just like that. So that way there's light up there too, and there's light coming through. That looks so pretty. That looks so good. Now the other idea that I had too is probably putting fences around the rim here, but it would probably look best if I was using more of the sloped roof pieces rather than the rounded ones. Because if I were to put a fence around here, you can't really see it that way, and same with these two. So they don't show up. So I think we'll just keep it the way it is. But that looks so pretty. Now, one of the things I want to look at this through is when it's nighttime. I definitely want to see how this looks during the nighttime. Now, if this isn't bright enough here, then I might have another idea for lighting that we could use. But let's see how this works out. So I'm going to speed up time and have it be nighttime. So I'll be right back. Okay, so it is nighttime. And I can tell that it's not that bright. It is quite dim, but this is in the desert, so the desert really isn't that dark at night compared to the highlands. Now, if this was in the highlands, you could definitely tell a difference. You'd definitely tell a difference. But I do think that this looks pretty good at night, but I may want to add some more lights here. Now, the kind of lights I want to add are kind of small, so I don't want to add like too many where it's going to be super bright, which these could be utilized as well. And these could be stuck into the ground like so. And we can put them in between like that. And I want to make sure that these are actually on the ground. I'll put them on either side, like so. And I'm not going to put them on each square. I'm probably going to skip a square and then put another one down. Yeah, like so. Again, it's okay if you don't have them completely... Oops, I did that wrong. Completely perfect. There we go. Just like that. I'm still going to keep these lanterns on the side because they look cool. But I might also do the skipping part where I skip one each time, and I might want to make sure that these are more even with each other. That way they kind of meet in the middle type thing. Yeah, where it's like that. But then these are, yeah, intervaled like that. That looks so much better. I like that. That looks really good at nighttime. So let's get a tour of this place. It's pretty small, but I think we did really well with this. So as you walk up to it, you get this beautiful gazebo in front of you with a beautiful 360 walkway. You got these statues here and those lanterns that say hello to you as you walk up. And you got a nice bench here that you could sit down and relax a little bit. You can even look out on the sides here. I also forgot to put the, I forgot to put plants on this side. Silly me. There we go. Yeah, there's enough walking room here, and then as you go into the center, you have this pedestal here. Just looking all grand and everything. Maybe some statues would look good here, too. Just putting 4 statues around this. kind of like one there. Kind of hard to put this in place. Yeah, just like that. That looks pretty cool. That is pretty cool. You can see the nice hanging Aquilonian brazier up above too. This is really nice. I think this turned out really well. And I hope you guys did enjoy it as well. Yeah, quite a simple... I mean, I say simple and then it's all decorated like this and everything, but it is definitely quite simple. And if you do have the Aquilonian pack, I do recommend building something like this. If you are interested in building gazebos or anything just recreationally useful, especially if you're doing modded gameplay and doing like role-playing stuff, I think something like this would be really good too. But if you guys did enjoy this, like I said in the beginning, you guys can hit that like button. If you haven't already, I'd really appreciate that. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well, because that lets me know that you guys enjoy the content on the channel and would like to see more. And I'd like to give a shout out to all of my channel members whose names I'll put up on the screen right now. These are the members that have decided to join the channel to become a member, where they get exclusive content, such as members only content that I post every once in a while, as well as getting access to emotes during live streams. So thank you guys for doing that. If you're interested, you can hit the join button down below. But I've been Savvy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys. See you later.